So what does marriage mean in the 21st century anyway? It's exactly what we're going to dive into today. First, let's give ourselves a little introduction. I'm Cheyenne.
My name is Kim. Together we are the Cleymans.
We are a Belgian-American couple. That's right, not just a couple. We are happily married.
For almost 4 years. 3.5.
Yes, close enough.
At this point.
Rounding up because we love it so much. But I live here in Belgium, and our passion is for marriage. Our marriage and your marriage, and our goal, our mission is to help you and your spouse grow in love, grow in romance and intimacy, and really truly have that deepen over time, over your lifetime, so that you too can have your own happily ever after. Because we want you guys to grow and to claim what is your best life. And we believe when your marriage is at its best, that's when your life can also be at its best and you can claim your best life. All right, guys, so marriage.
What is the meaning of marriage in the 21st century?
Marriage is on the plate today, and we are going to dive in because it's actually where Kim and I first started. When we first started dating, we dove into marriage because we actually realized that soon after we started having these deep conversations and talking about our past and our relationships and our beliefs for the future, we realized that even our beliefs and values about marriage itself were a lot different. So during our season of dating, we had picked up the book, The Meaning of Marriage. It was highly recommended to us by one of my friends who also was my pastor.
One of my favorite pastors in the world.
That's right. Little shout out Armando. We love you. But it really helped us dive into the meaning of marriage with more of an ancient wisdom and roots. That's not where marriage has ended up today. For sure. That's not it. That's not the beliefs and the values of what we read in that book is not what we see today. And I think it's definitely from Kim's own experience, it's not what you believed growing up.
No, I remember as we were dating long distance and we had this connection and marriage got brought up. I was like, hold your horses, Missy. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
We haven't been together for 10 years, for starters.
I'm like, 10 years? What? We'd be having like our third kid by then.
Yeah. In Belgium nowadays, I feel like first you live together for some time, you have kids, you buy a house, and if everything works out great, in 10 years we're still together, maybe then let's consider that marriage. Growing up, I remember that marriage, what is it? What is it actually about? It's only a piece of paper? Is I feel that society where I grew up made me believe, made me feel about marriage. So a first definition or a first angle of what marriage means in the 21st century from a European perspective, but maybe in the States it's also more and more evolving that way, I don't know, is that it's nothing more than a contract. It's got a legal factor to it that if, say, someday something were to happen to me, that my wife and my kids are automatically taken care of, shall we say.
I think it's not necessarily what people go into marriage for. I think there's still that element of romance. In fact, I think we have a lot more romance in marriage or seeking romance, and we'll get more into that than in the past decades and centuries. But also more than the past centuries, marriage has become just more of a legally binding thing between two people, and not as much as maybe a spiritual or an emotional connection or entanglement that it also used to be.
It's like in the law kind of a thing when it comes down to taxes. Are you married or not? It's
right.
like
becomes a huge benefit. I think that, again, marriage in and of itself, some people purely do get married for the legal benefits. That's maybe the only reason why they would consider marriage in the first place.
We know of people whose main drive is that aspect, just that one right there. For retirement and pensions and stuff like that. So that is definitely one aspect of a modern marriage, shall we say.
Now, a second huge difference in marriage in the 21st century compared to all the centuries in the past are that marriage is less and less, even though it is a contract, even though it's legally binding, it has become a little bit less of a promise than it used to be.
Oh, totally. When we look at courts these days, when we look at how laws have been written, or at least legal procedures have been optimized to expedite the divorces. Okay, how much of a promise is that marriage compared to its original meaning, that is?
Yeah, marriage used to be lifelong, and I think it's still that desire. Of course, I don't think most people get married with the hope of getting divorced, but it could also be an exit strategy. I do think more than ever in the back of people's minds, it is always like, well, you know, these red flags, but we can get married because we can just get divorced. It's like it surrounds us. I don't know, not so much here in Europe, but when I'm in the States, you can't drive down a highway without seeing some big billboard that's advertising divorce lawyer.
Right.
Yeah, so it's like, it's amazing how you see it. It's in your peripheral. I'd hate to see that on a hard day of my marriage, was seeing divorced advertised, but it's almost like our society, I feel, in the past used to be set up as marriage as the last resort. I feel more in the 21st century, it's almost like the quickest option, or, you know, it's like, maybe you guys should try counseling, but, you know, divorce is so easy, it's common, let's just do that instead.
It's just a piece of paper anyway. It's who can make that promise to stay together for the rest of my life?
Yeah, those are the examples that we have in society, whether it's your own parents, our parents actually both have remained married over the years, up until Kim's father's passing. But in society, there's not a whole lot of examples that we have of people sticking it out, sticking through thick and thin, or knowing how to see, or showing us how marriage is a promise, and a promise of lifelong continual commitment, but also lifelong continual love to each other.
Yeah, which is quite ironic because we live in an era where we get to choose a marriage partner out of love.
Yeah.
Right? For the longest of times, it was marriages were arranged, or our parents decided, or you just had to marry just to survive.
Yeah.
And nowadays we get to choose our partner for love. But I don't promise that I will love you forever. And you know what? Probably in our contract, I'll insert that exit strategy so that we make sure that when things don't work out, that I'll get to protect
what's mine.
Right.
You know, still seeing yourself as that individual, and actually that it does exist even in its own contract form. I think maybe anyone who follows Hollywood or celebrities has heard the word prenuptial, a prenuptial agreement. They're only signed for if we get divorced. And to me, I always felt like, gosh, if anyone signs that, they might as well put the divorce agreement, staple it to the back, because that's going to be the next thing they end up signing. You know,
it's kind of like opening that door.
Yeah. Opening that door, opening that window, opening the exit button, and that really is stemmed in, you know, at least from mine and Kim's beliefs, into our third point of just that marriage is so difficult nowadays because we have this instant setup for wanting something right here, right now, and having that instant gratification.
Yeah, instant gratification, right? We live in a time of highly technological developments. Everything has to go faster, and we want it here, we want it now, and we want that dopamine shot, and we want to feel good, and it's like, you have to please me, and you make me feel bad, and wow, what a crazy time do we live in anyways, right?
What crazy expectations to put on someone, but also to have put on yourself. You know, I think of that, gosh, you know, so many of us in this generation, you know, whether it was maybe not the generation before us, but the one before us, our grandparents' generation, they're the ones that went off to war, and these couples were married and they didn't hear from each other for months. Sometimes years, literally didn't know if they were in peril, did not know if maybe their life had been taken from them. And so talk about no instant gratification, talk about that really being a promise and a commitment, where today I think we all can laugh and smile with each other that there is so many disagreements and arguments over the fact of when your spouse doesn't text you back right away.
Yeah.
You know, or how dare him, or he didn't like the video I just put up, or,
Right.
you know.
Or just the fact that I have to wait 10 seconds for my phone to make connection and it's taking longer than I want, and I want to smack the device into the wall, and we want it now, faster, here, now.
And we're the first to support social media. We're actually talking to you right now through means of social media. So
Absolutely.
There is, of course, positive, but I think, again, we're talking about marriage and how it's been very much, we can declare, redefined in the 21st century. And these are some things we need to look out for, because so many of us, you know, us included, maybe you watching, still want marriage, still believe in marriage. So it's something to think about, though, that our culture is really set up against us. It's especially when it comes to marriage, because anyone who's been married that's watching, or maybe you're considering marriage, maybe you're single and you're curious, what is marriage all about? What can I expect? Well, you can expect some hard sharpening moments. What I mean is to refer to the Proverbs, right, as iron sharpening iron, just meaning you're going to rub up against each other. And that's where, when you look back at how marriage is no longer a promise and it's just a contract, that is why it makes it so much harder, I think, for people to stay together, because that instant gratification that they're looking for is so often in marriage just non-existent.
And when we're living in this 21st century right now, nowadays, 2022, we spend our time, so much time of our day on our mobile devices.
Yeah, you said it was like,
An average person is like 8 hours a day active on their phone.
Sounds ludicrous.
It's like a third of your
but I'm
day,
curious.
a third of your life. It's maybe more than you sleep nowadays.
Yeah.
But we cannot forget that these apps on our phone, they are designed to keep us going back there, right? They have like all these psychological hacks into their design, so that we go to them more and more. And every time when someone likes a post, or when someone responds, or get a comment, or get a view, we kind of feel better. We get this dopamine hit.
Yes.
And our brains during 8 hours a day are being hit dopamine. But supposedly there's also this thing that goes on in our brains on a chemical level, that when our brains are being bombarded with dopamine, they need an equal amount of downtime so that they can maintain that equilibrium. And oftentimes when we do have that downtime from our device, from social, from our apps, from those dopamines, it's when we are together with our spouse, right? Either we're on our phones together, but then we're kind of growing apart, we're distracted, we're not together.
Fully engaged,
Or when we're together, we're kind of like going through withdrawals on a chemical level. So I find it fascinating, all these things that are going on that we are not always aware of, that we're not even conscious of like, what is even happening? What are these things, these devices doing to me on a subconscious level? And then when I'm with my partner, probably not the first week or the first year, or after the honeymoon phase, maybe a couple of years into marriage, this is like boring. I don't get these dopamine hits. You cannot keep on providing these highs for me. You don't make me happy anymore. And it's time for me to open that back door and go into the world and look for more of those highs. Because when I look on my devices and I see everybody else is happily married and everybody else is romantic and everybody else is... It's that comparison, right? The comparison that the social media could do to you there.
Yes, comparison is a thief of all joy, and I think we can see that why. So.
Did I explain that in a comprehensive manner?
I believe so, but we want to hear what you guys thought. So truly let us know if you felt like Kim was explaining it well. But at the end of the day, right? So it's like, what does all this mean for marriage in the 21st century? And I think we both as a married couple can say that it's definitely going to require a lot of intentionality and a lot of patience, meaning that knowing that all these things are set up against you, knowing that marriage is now maybe everyone around you believes that it's just a contract. Maybe there's going to be people speaking, I call it death, over your marriage, meaning divorce. There could be people that would easily put that out there in your thoughts, in your mind. If not them, it's the billboards, right? If you're in the US. Also, we're set up to be, honestly, I feel like as much as we want instant gratification, we're almost set up to instantly be dissatisfied in our marriages nowadays. So you need to surround yourself with people that are going to encourage you and are going to inspire you and listen to you when it comes to what you want from your marriage.
When we pull all these three things together, it does feel to me like the institution of marriage is under attack.
Yeah.
It's like, what do we know about marriage? How do we go into this marriage?
Yeah.
How are we prepared for those rougher times that will, sooner or later, they will arise?
Yeah.
They will arrive.
It's not an if.
And then what do we do? Can we then be patient? Can we be persistent, forgiving, grateful?
Yeah. Things.
Because every time I open my phone and I look on what I can see on the internet, it could easily pull me away from what we have and what we are building, what we are doing together. And that's only talking about that those devices. There are so many more distractions that
truly are.
When you have kids, when we have careers, when we have obligations and social life, and there's just so much. Life has become so complicated, so complex nowadays.
Yeah, but we don't want to leave you guys feeling in despair because you're not alone, of course.
Is it a fact?
Yeah. I think whether or not we want to agree with it, we have to look at what society, right? What are stereotypes out there? And sometimes Kim and I get in these discussions and he's so quick and easy to say, well, here in Europe, well, here. And I'm like, yeah, but America's not too far off. I think it's just sweeping across the Western world, to be honest. These three main points that we see affecting marriage in the 21st century, it is becoming more of the norm instead of the exception.
And especially when we look at shows on TV like Stranger Things, or we see things that are happening in the 90s, old movies when there were no cell phones, and I'm not blaming cell phones, but life seemed so much easier, so much simpler, right?
Well, and now that you know, now that we've shared with you with our research and with even some of our own thoughts where the state of marriage is in the 21st century, we want to hear from you. What are some of your biggest challenges or struggles or even frustrations with the state of marriage in the 21st century? And ultimately, we want to know, what does marriage mean to you? There's no right or wrong answer. All we want to know is your heart, is your answer. If you would put it in the comments below. And we also have created something just for you and your spouse. We want to help each of you grow in your marriage, want to help your intimacy develop. So we'd love for you to look in the notes below. We're going to post our brand new intimacy quiz where you can discover where is the state of your intimacy in your marriage right now, and how can you grow that intimacy in the future between the two of you.
Well said. Could not have said it any better.
I'm sure you could have tried. You could have tried.
Could have tried.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching. If you love what we're talking about here, watching, listening, all of it, participating, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Also share this. If it's something that you found very valuable, share it, subscribe, and just know that we love connecting with all of you. And we thank you so much for being here with us today.
What can I add to that?
How about a kiss?
You don't only take my breath away, you also take all my words away.
They go hand in hand, right? You know,
we're definitely married for a long time now.
Definitely, and sharpening each other.
Like one.
That's right. I love that, baby. Right? Two becoming one.
Awesome. See you guys next time.
Bye, guys.